Hey, welcome back, everybody. I don't even know where to even start. Um, hey, welcome to the new year, everyone. This is Luke Stanke, and I'm here to review this week's Workout Wednesday for week 1 of 2020. This week we're looking to put together this sheet, this interactive sheet, in which we can sort on the header. Of course, Tableau has built-in sorting capabilities. However, with this challenge, we wanted to utilize parameter actions, but also highlight rows that are sorted in a different way than Tableau does. Tableau usually has the little sort button, high, low. What I wanted to do is be able to highlight via color what column we're sorting on. And plus it just gives us the ability to practice some of Tableau's additional features and functionalities. If we're looking at some of the other features of this visualization, we'll see that we have bar charts for sales, and then we have numeric values for sales by order. And then as I scroll over, I've got this little mark showing up. So it's some sort of mark that I've got showing up. And what this is doing is allowing this label to not be aligned all the way to the right for the sales by order dollar amount. And then finally, we have profit ratio. And it looks to me like we are colored on profit ratio across profit ratio and sales. So the red, when they're negative, are showing up as so. And that's it. It's a pretty straightforward. Oh, and then just having a light red header here. And I also had another footer down here, but I removed it. And it's a fairly straightforward challenge. It's almost like we more or less could have just made a table and said sort with a regular table, but again, focusing on parameter actions. So let's actually take a look at the requirements and make sure that we see all the different features and functionalities. Right now I'm saying you need 2 sheets. For us, the 2 sheets are going to be the table and the header. And the header is going to be 50 pixels tall. And then we have this gray color background. And then, when the text is selected, it's almost black, but not quite black. It's actually off black. And then it's this lighter color when it's not selected. And then we're placing the text at the center here of the table. So it's not like the label sitting at the top or the very bottom. It's right in the middle. So every time we click on a column, we get the arrow showing up underneath the label, and it doesn't disappear to anywhere. Also, if I've asked to, we're gonna have a table, and this table obviously looks like a table, but we're turning off sort controls. If you'll notice, we have no way to actually sort this table using Tableau's sort controls. We actually turn those off. So that's just a request for us to practice building out this parameter action. Otherwise, we would have been able to just use the sort control. We are going to have this text right aligned. As I said, it's sales by order is right aligned with the order label so that it's not way off to the right here. It's still centered within the label itself. And then again, include a bar chart for profit ratio and include bars if the ruby red color, this red color if it's negative, and a 0 line for the profit ratio, but not for sales. So you'll notice sales does not have a 0 line, but the profit ratio does. And then I've got a padding of 50 pixels to the left and to the right, just kind of center it in the visualization, and a 4 pixel header up here, that same ruby red color. The entire dashboard is white, and then the table is this gray. No tooltips, and then to match all other formatting. So I think we've walked through it. Let's actually just jump into Tableau. Connected directly to the Superstore dataset, and it already built me my profit ratio calculation. I still need to build another calculation, and this calculation being the sales per order calculation. I'm just going to call this sales per order. And it's just the sum of sales divided by the count distinct order ID. And that's going to give us the sales per order calculation. And then we can start to build out our tables. So I'm just going to say, all right, we need to do this by subcategory. I'll pull this out on my visualization. And I need to, somehow I lost my mouse in this search here. So let's go ahead and we'll bring in each of these values. So I'm just going to double click sales per order, and profit ratio. And my issue here is that I'm not actually going to use measure names. I actually want different marks cards for each of these. So let's just take these values out of measure names and drag them up to columns. Now we just need to put them in the correct order, and we're headed in the right direction. I can just take profit ratio and place that. I can't really place it on color. What I can do though is I'm just going to create a new calculation that says profit ratio is greater than 0. I'm just going to call this bar color. And I'm going to place this on color on all my marks for now. And then I've got that color. Let's go get that color of ruby red. I didn't necessarily specify the off color, but I'm just going to double click and I'm going to insert that hex color and hit OK. And then maybe for this color, I'm just going to choose like this kind of dark Seattle gray. So from there, we are starting to build out our visualization. We do not need these headers, but we really don't want this to be a bar altogether. We actually want it to be a single aligned value, which is interesting because that is going to mean we can't use sales per order up here. Maybe we could just double click, and I'm just going to type min of 0.0. And I can use min.0.0 as sort of a placeholder to get all my values aligned here. So I'm just going to take sales per order out of here and place that on text on that 0.0 marks card. And actually, we don't even need the color to show up. I also know that I need to have my label right aligned. So I'm just going to go alignment, and let's change my mark type to say Gantt bar. Perfect. Boom, we're right aligned. But if we take a look back at the visualization, we're not right down the center, we're just off the label. I'm going to come back to this in a little bit, just because right now we don't need it. But for the most part, we have our base table built. I could just do some quick formatting, and I'm just going to take my row dividers and make them show up, and I'm going to get rid of my column dividers. And for borders, I'm getting rid of grid lines. I'm getting rid of zero lines, trend lines. I'm just getting rid of all these lines for now. Perfect. And then I know that let's just fit the entire view on this so that maybe it's easier to see if you're tuning in. And then I'm just going to change my size of my bars. This is just a personal preference, kind of going off script a little bit here. That I don't like really large bars. It's just, again, personal preference. Kind of like them to be roughly this large. So you'll see kind of just about the same size as the text. In fact, when I create my text tables, I like to have whatever the size of my text is, I like to have the same amount of white space above it and below it within each row. So I more or less have that. I don't have this mark showing up, so I'm just going to click on color and set my opacity to 0, and I'll have removed the color. And of course, we'll want to format this value to make sure that it is a currency value. And there we have it, sales per order to the nearest dollar. So we've got more or less the first sheet created. Again, just got to do a little bit of formatting. I'm going to do it all up, the rest of the formatting at the end. Let's just remove this label up here. Next up, I am going to create the header, and the header is a little bit different. If we go back and we look at it, it's a separate sheet in which I need to have my measure names kind of showing up here. Let's build this header now. So this is, we're going to build this header, and to me, this is how I do it. There's probably a lot of different ways how to go about building it, but you know what? This is, again, how I'm doing it. I'm going to start by creating a calculated field. I'm going to call it sales. I'm going to put a space after sales to build this calculation. And then put in the sales with the space there. Notice capital S sales with the space. I'll put the space there because we already have a field called sales, and I can't have a field called the same thing. But I'm just going to type min 0, and this is going to help create that calculation. This is me and my practice calculation, so I don't really need that anymore. All right, so we're fixed. Please ignore what I just did over there on the right. So we've got sales, min 0, and I'm just going to hit OK. I'm just going to duplicate this calculation 2 more times. It's the same, it's just sales, min 0. I've used this trick a number of times in my visualizations. I'm just going to call the next one sales per order as I rename it. Oh, can't do that because, again, I have a calculation called that, so I just put a space after it. And then finally taking that last sales calculation and calling it profit ratio with a space after it. So I need those spaces. I'm going to take profit ratio with the space, bring it out onto columns. You'll see I just have this mark here. I'm going to bring sales per order. It should be the same thing. It's min 0 is 0, and it's an aggregate sales per order with the space. And then that sales calculation with a space. I'm going to change my mark type to text. And then if I take measure names and I put it on text, boom, I've got those labels showing up, the labels that I kind of need here. And I can just hide this header, and let's get rid of those tooltips while we're at it too. Those pesky tooltips. I've got dual screen. It just showed up on the other screen. I don't need these tooltips. Let's get rid of those. So they're gone. I don't have my tooltips showing up. All right, let's build this dashboard. It is 700 wide by 800 tall. And then we're just going to create this by adding a vertical container. This is just how I do it. And I'm going to bring out sheet 2 for the header, right click, hide title, and then clicking and dragging sheet 1 out there. I should probably give these names, and I will just after I drop this on here, but I'm going to drop it underneath within that container, and you can tell because the blue line is lit. And then I'm going to release, right click on the title up here, sheet 1, and hide title. And then I don't need to show the color legend. Hopefully we've built it to be pretty intuitive. Oh, look at those labels are automatically almost centered perfectly to where they need to be, except this header is sort of not centered, which is going to cause me a bit of anxiety. But first, let's just call this body, and we'll call this header. All right, staying organized. It's very key. Let's get this aligned before we start doing anything with it. We won't want the tooltips on there. We'll remove them later. So I think all I want to do is I'm just going to click on this, go to layout, and then on outer padding, I'm going to uncheck all sides equal. And you know what? I don't want top padding. I do want some padding off to the left, and I don't want any right padding. Actually, I'm going to leave that at 4 because the bottom one's also at 4, and then 0. Also on the table itself, we want these to be super tight next to each other. So I'm checking on all sides equal and removing that from the table. So now it's almost like one integrated visualization. And if I just take a look here, it's actually pretty good. I'm not going to get too hacky with building out my solution here. I think I like where we're going more or less. I just got to get these labels realigned to over to the right. And I'm just going to right click, edit axis, and now we can just play around a little bit. And I could say like, let's make this -1 and let's make this 0.9. And when I do that, it doesn't make them going in the wrong direction. Well, I could say 1.1. Oh, definitely going in the wrong direction now. I did want to go the other way. 0.6. Nope, too far. I'm just, by setting the axes here, I can move the values left and right. From, again, we set it, the min 0.0 just sets the value to 0. And by using 0.0, it allows me to use decimals inside my ability to edit the axis. And now I've sort of got the values right around where I want them to be. I'm just going to say OK, actually just click out. And then because everything's more or less aligned, I can just, uncheck show header. Now I also said let's add some outer padding and make this 50 on left and right. So I'm just going to do that right away. In fact, I might do. So we've got our colors now showing up on our visualization. We're going to add a header here, a 4-pixel header, and there's a lot of ways to do it. And I'm sure I did it different when I put it together, but I'm going to go right back in this container. And I just, let me get that text in there quick, and then I'm going to move it around. The way that I create these headers is I just do, I fix the height. Then, of course, Tableau adds the padding. We don't need any of the padding. And then I can go back to fixed height, edit the height, and just set it to 4. And then I can change the background color to be the red that I'm looking for. And there we have the table built. Now, again, we're almost there. We almost have this thing built. The one thing that we don't have is any functionality yet that allows us to sort this visualization. And that's sort of some of the last things that we need to add. And we're actually going to end up spending quite a bit of time getting this header to look the way that it needs to look in order to be successful. Oh, fix the height, I believe was fixed 50 pixels. So let's just do that right away as well. All right. All right, so we've got it sorted by sales with a space here. Sales are sorting descending. I just kind of need to add the action in there. So I'm just click actions, and I'm going to add an action, and I'm going to change the parameter value. And when we select a value on the header, we want to change the sort parameter by measure names. Real simple, it's my only choice. And now I just hit OK and OK again. And let's test this out. Sales per order with a space. Boom, it's sorted. You'll see it's highlighting that value, and then profit ratio, boom, sorting. We've got this sorting thing figured out. What we don't have is the automatic deselect figured out. I'll show you the trick right now. So we're going to go back in here, and we're going to build 2 new calculations. We're going to create one that's called, actually we're going to do ad hoc because it works way better. I just need 2 calculations. One, I'm just going to type out true, hit enter. And the second one I'm going to type out is false and hit enter. Just adding 2 calculations. They're booleans, true and false. All right, I'm just going to take these 2 fields and I'm going to save them off, bring them over here, click and drag those values. And now let's add that header, that automatic deselect functionality. I'm going to go to actions, add action, filter, and then I'm going to say on the header when I select, let's change. We're going to actually change the value on the header, and we're going to say change it when true is equal to false, and I'll hit OK here. And now when I run this, if I click on sales per order, you'll notice it's sorted and automatically deselected, and same with sales. So we've got some really cool application-like functionality. The last 2 pieces that we need to add here are just the arrow down functionality, and we need to also change the color and then make the text a little more bold. So all I have to do is go in here. Let's just do some quick edits. First piece is we're going to build a calculation with that arrow down. I went on the web, and I'm going to use an alt code, and I'm going to say if the sort parameter is equal to sales with the space. Then let's show me this arrow, else just give me a space. And this will come in handy later for my formatting. I'm just going to call this sort equals sales. Yeah, sales. And there we go. And I'm going to hit OK. And because I have that sort calculation created, I'm going to duplicate this twice. Oh, by the way, did you notice that I spelled it exactly how the parameter would be taken in it? Sales with a space. This one is going to be sales per order. I'm just going to type sales per order with a space, if it's that. And then the last one, I'm going to edit it and I'm going to say, okay, this one needs to be profit ratio with that space. So double click profit ratio. Done. Let's take all of these values and we're going to just put one on each on the appropriate marks card. So profit ratio gets color, and then sales per order gets color, and then sales gets color. So they all have a different color. And this arrow down is going to, we're going to make it that black color. So I'm just going to double click. Actually, we've had specific colors. We should probably use them. So if the column is selected, use 1B, 1B, 1B. And this one is selected currently, so I'll hit OK. And then the other columns that are not selected should be 6E, 6E, 6E. I'm just going to kind of go in here manually and add all these values. Like whoever put this challenge together definitely didn't make this easy. Maybe he should have thought about making this challenge a little bit easier. Sales per order. Now it changed this bar value, and again that's just 1B. So I'm just going to do 1B, 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 and hit OK, and then change this value as well. And then back to my profit ratio, and we'll just change this color again, 1B. 1B, 1B, 1B. Perfect. And we've got everything kind of doing what it's supposed to do. If I just look here, I select profit ratio. Where are my arrows? They are not showing up. The color's working, but my arrows aren't showing up. So let's add those arrows to text too, not just color, but to text. And I'm just going to say, all right, if sort, so we're going to say sales, we're going to add that to text. Profit ratio gets that to text, and I accidentally didn't click the sales per order. And you'll notice as I do this, it's adding that space below, and if we want it centered, we've got to get those values centered in the way that I know how to do that. And maybe there's an easier way, but all I do is I just kind of, by the way, I'm just going to, when I go in here, I'm just going to edit the text. I'm going to edit the text again. It shows up on the wrong screen. All right, so I'm just going to come in and edit the text, and I'm going to say let's insert here measure names, and I'm just going to make this bold, and I'm going to add a space after it. I'm just going to copy and paste this because it's going to be way faster. That's my first value, and for whatever reason that doesn't look that intense, so I'm just going to change this to medium to highlight that functionality. So perfect. Highlighted it, and we'll just come over here, we'll edit the text, and I'm going to paste this in, and this actually shouldn't be sales, but it should be sales per order, and the same for profit ratio over here. Just going to come in here, paste this in. Awesome. There we have it. We've done it. We've created the visualization to the requirements. Oh, we forgot to add the 0 line in here. So let's just add that quick. We're going to go back into this sheet. I treated that like it was the header of this visualization. I'm just going to right click. I'm going to show this profit ratio header. Can't believe I didn't do this right away. Right click, and we're going to add a reference line, and we are going to create a parameter. We are going to call it 0, and we are going to set the value to 0. Hit OK. We're going to say no label, no tooltips, add a line. Let's make it darker than the visualization, and we'll do it on the entire table, and we will hit OK, and then let's unshow that header, and there we have it. There's our visualization created just for this challenge. More or less matches directly with what we're doing, and would definitely hit off on all the challenge points for this week. So there you have it. There's our Workout Wednesday 2020 week 1 solution. This video is going to be super long. I'm so sorry that it took so long. I did a lot of cutting, I'm not gonna lie. It's probably going to seem nice and short, but there you go. I hope everyone enjoys the new year. Take care.